So for this lesson, we are going to refresh our memories on how to divide fractions. The learning target for this piece is going to be I can divide whole numbers and fractions. I want to remind you that you're going to go back to your table of contents and make sure that you put dividing fractions, and it's both pages 34 and 35. So I'm going to continually remind you to update that table of contents so you're not losing points when I do a notebook check. So the first piece of this is that reciprocals help us divide fractions. Reciprocal is a word that I already gave you and that you pasted in your notebook, but that you didn't necessarily define. So at this point, you want to go ahead and make sure that you define that word and put it in your notebook if you haven't already done so. So you should know what a reciprocal is, but if you don't, I'm going to refresh your memory. Reciprocals do help us divide fractions, and it's basically the value needed to have a product of 1. So if you have a fraction, it's thinking about what can I multiply that fraction by in order to get a product of 1. Product again means multiplication, just kind of that little side note, that's more of an annotation. But you do need to write that down. So if I were given this number, if I have 2 as my number, and I'm thinking about what can I multiply 2 by in order to have a product of 1? Well, the first thing you want to do if you have a whole number is change it into a fraction. It could be proper, and in this case it'll be an improper fraction because it'll have a larger numerator than denominator. So you want to make sure that it's in a fraction form. And then you want to think about what can I multiply my numerator by to create a product of 1. The nice thing about this, and you should have learned it last year, is that in order to have a product of 1, you are going to multiply by the reciprocal, which is essentially just flipping the numbers. That's why I wrote you a little note here that basically you're just flipping. So if I'm thinking about 9, 9 is 9 over 1. What could I multiply 9 by in order to have a product of 1? Well, it would be 1/9. Because then I'm going to say 9 times 1 gives me 9. And 1 times 9 also gives me 9. And anything over itself equals 1 whole. It doesn't matter if 1 is in the denominator or if you have 2 different numbers in numerator and denominator. You're going to follow the same process. So if I'm given 7/8, then I would multiply by 8 over 7. Because 7 times 8 is 56 and 8 times 7 is also 56, which gives us a product of 1. Same thing with 3/4. I would flip the 2 numbers. I would get 4 over 3, and that's going to give me 12 over 12, which is 1 whole. So we're going to use that concept in order to divide fractions. This foldable is exactly the same foldable that you did for multiplying fractions. So you're going to cut off the edges like you did, and then you're going to paste them inside here on both top and bottom so that you can get the nice flat surfaces. So, also in the last foldable, you were supposed to cut straight up the middle right here. So if you want to correct that and go ahead and cut up, if not, I'm not going to take off for that. So let's look at proper fractions first. In this case, if we have 1/4 divided by 1/2, in order to get 1 whole, I have to multiply by the reciprocal of 1/2, which is 2 over 1. All I did was flip the numbers. So I'm going to say 1/4, I'm going to keep that. I'm going to change from division to multiplication, so that's our change. And then I'm going to flip the fractions. So 1/2 becomes 2 over 1. Then I'm going to treat it like multiplying fractions like I would anything else. So 1 times 2 is 2. 4 times 1 is 1. 4 times 1 is 4. So 2/4 ends up simplifying to 1/2. So if I were to write down the steps here, I'm going to say change the division sentence to multiplication by keeping, changing, and flipping. You should have learned that last year. I've heard it so much this year when we were trying to do our keep, change, opposite. So I know that you're very familiar with this. Step 2 is we're going to multiply numerators and denominators. So we're just going to move straight across the page. And then step 3 is just to simplify. If we are talking about mixed numbers instead, we just have one extra step. So we're going to take the mixed number and create improper fractions. So 8 times 2 is 16 plus 1 is 17. That gives me 17 over 8. 6 times 1 is 6 plus 1 is 7. That's going to give me 7 over 6. Then I'm going to keep. I'm going to change to multiplication, and I'm going to flip, which is multiplying by the reciprocal. So then I'm going to just come straight across. I'm going to say 17 times 6, which gives me 102. 8 times 7 is 56. Then I'm going to simplify. 56 goes into 102 one time, and then we have to simplify that fraction. Well, 2 goes into both of those, so 46 divided by 2 gives me 23, and 56 divided by 2 gives me 28. So in writing down the steps, and if you need to pause this video or replay it as much as you need to, because I am moving fast, I'm moving quickly because you should already know these things. We're going to convert mixed numbers to improper fractions. We're going to keep, change, and then flip. And then we're going to come over here and do steps 2 and 3, which is multiply numerators, multiply denominators, and then simplify. I know I kind of squeezed that in there, but maybe you can write it across this way since it's applicable to both proper and mixed numbers. Once you feel confident with this concept, if you want to practice a few in your work plan, you're going to cut the puzzle pieces. I'm calling it puzzle pieces, these little pieces, and you're going to solve each problem. If it needs to be on a separate sheet, you can do that and then attach it to your work plan. And then the way that you're going to glue them in is you're going to make sure you cut, because on some of these I didn't cut them out close enough. Cut right along that black line, otherwise you're not going to have space. And I'll go ahead and give you the answer to one of them. But you're going to glue them like this. So you're going to say 10 divided by 5/9, that's 18. So I'm going to glue these together and then glue them together on the page so that I can see very quickly that you know the answer to this problem. On this side, you're going to put the problem going horizontally, and the answer is going to go up and down. So this is not the right answer. I'm just throwing this stuff out there because I just want to show you the process. So if you think 2 divided by 7/8 is 3 5/9, you're going to glue them like this. Okay? So we want answers vertically, problems vertically, answers horizontally on the left side of the page, and then problems horizontally and answers vertically on this side of the page. And you want to make sure they're really close together because you have to fit 4 going down this way and 4 going down this way to complete the 8 problems total. Once you finish, I want you to come and check yours with my notebook that I have, and just to see that, make sure that you're moving in the right direction.